There we are. You are live.
Live.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, and 1. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
Sean. Today, we're going to be kind of a continuation of our previous episode.
Yeah.
We're talking about Super Bowls, but not specifically this upcoming Super Bowls, but kind of Super Bowls in general. What Americans love when it comes to we start breaking down some of the advertising that happens. It's kind of interesting when you start to analyze it. What really kind of gets our curiosity or gets us interested.
Yeah, entertained. So so this is like, if you look at all the Super Bowl ads, what do they have in common? And it breaks down to about 3 things. Right. So, and it's should we reveal it here? Should we wait till after?
We should.
Yeah. So they love Americans love America.
That's right.
Right. So if you think about some of the classic Jeep ads and Budweiser and ads and things like that. Animals. So I happened to be watching the other night on CBS. They were kind of doing their the best Super Bowl commercials of the last 20 years. And then at the end they had the top 2, and then you voted between the top 2. Both of the top 2s were this second category, which is animals.
Right.
One was the streaking sheep. Remember that from like the Clydesdales are out in the field, playing football, and then the streaker sheep comes across. But the other one was like a puppy, or no, it was the guy who raised one of the Clydesdales. That whole thing when he saw the Clydesdale again. So, but they're both animals, right? I mean,
absolutely. People
love it. Budweiser always pulls off the animal things, or the other one is just sex. So,
most obvious, right?
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know. I would say humor's in there as well. Like a lot of the Bud Light and the Bud, they're not like America or animals or sex. It's more just humor, right?
Yeah.
So I'd probably add that in if I was going to, but yeah, definitely America, animals, and sex. And it's funny, like this ad you sent me, it's America, comma, animals, and sex. So they really needed another comma after animals. People use an Oxford comma. If you don't know what an Oxford comma is, look it up. They work. Like so.
Speaking of animals, I got to mention this. This falls right in line with that. But I was reading a post from someone you and I both know, David Fry. Got to mention him. He's a great marketing guy. If you follow him on Facebook, but he said he posted this. I think it was a couple of days ago, or maybe yesterday. But he's like, home business idea: buy a monkey, spend all day videoing it, and taking care of him. And there's actually, he references there's actually a YouTube channel of a guy who has a monkey that's all he does. That's his whole channel is taking care of his monkey, and probably makes a fortune off of that, I'm sure.
It is crazy what people are making money off of on YouTube. Right. Absolutely crazy.
Sure.
And not a little bit of money, like lots of money.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you remember Ryan Dice? He used to always use the example of like underwater basket weaving, like, because who would ever do that? I think you could actually make a living off that now. I think we're at that point.
You could.
Like, you could actually have a YouTube channel. It's part scuba enthusiast, part, homemade craft enthusiast.
Right.
And you're videoing yourself underwater with a nice GoPro doing underwater basket weaving.
Absolutely.
Like, it's probably a thing now.
People will tune in. Sure. If they'll tune in, if they love America, animals, and sex, they got to love underwater basket weaving, right?
Yeah. So you just do the basket, like with a flag, weave the flag in there. That'll do it.
That works.
All right.
So before we get into our topic of America, animals, and the other thing, we got to talk about some beer.
America's other most favorite thing.
That's right, beer. And we're not talking Budweiser. No. We don't talk about Budweiser on here.
Well, this kind of goes to our, what we talked about last time and some of the smaller things, right? We talk about craft beer on this show.
Absolutely.
We're all for the little guy on this show. So I went first last time, so last episode. So you go first, and what do you have over there? You said it was going to be perfect. You said I was going to like it.
You're going to like it because you were having a piece of, right in front of me, a piece of cinnamon bread.
Yes.
On our last episode. And I was getting so hungry watching you snarf that down right before our episode. So, but I've got the upper hand on this one. I've got it's an Angry Chair. It's a loaded French toast imperial stout.
Wow, loaded French toast. So it's got to have a little cinnamon, a little syrup.
That's right.
Maybe a little whipped cream. Oh wow.
Look at that.
Like it looks like strawberry shortcake from a distance there, but
it's from Untitled Art.
Okay.
Angry Chair Brewing Company. And let me give you a little, it's an imperial stout, lactose, cinnamon, vanilla, beans, and maple.
Yeah, maple syrup. Yeah.
11% ABV.
Woo. Wow. All right.
So I'm going to be
coming in hot.
Dessert.
Yeah. Get your dessert beer going there. I like it. All right. So I've got from one of our sponsors, if you want to throw up the sponsor banner.
Oh, yeah.
There. Let me put on my reading.
Banner. Bring up with the banner.
My reading spectacles.
Oh, let's see. Almost deleted our sponsor. Oh, there we go.
There we are. All right. So this episode is brought to you by the Original Craft Beer Club. Fine craft brews from all over the world. They do all the legwork. I do the tasting. And this week we are featuring a Bon Bon Chocolate Milk Stout from Three Sheeps Brewing Company. So I was still kind of on theme, right? So
right. Talking about animals.
Got the animals. So this is brewed with heart and science in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Three Sheeps is equal parts creativity and scientific process, crafting totally unique beers that stand apart from the crowd. So I was reading up the little bio on this company, and it sets the bar pretty high. It says opened in 2012 by founder brewmaster Grant Pauly. I still wonder, like, man, why did I not know about this career path earlier? Could have just could have owned a brewery or something.
We're too old. It wasn't around back then, man.
I know, right? Goodness, we were drinking Keystone Lights and Budweisers,
right?
Coors Lights, and so opened. It's all about being different, brewing beers that nobody else is brewing in ways that nobody else is brewing them with ingredients that others are afraid to use. That's pretty good copy right there.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yet no matter how extreme the ingredients and processes may be, each beer is brewed to be approachable and well-balanced. It is with this unique brewing philosophy that Three Sheeps Brewing Company has achieved great success and become one of the top craft breweries in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Wisconsin.
Right.
So we've got, Bon Bon Chocolate Milk Stout, 5.5% ABV, 13 IBUs. And here's the write-up on it. There are few things better than a fresh box of bonbons. They're rich and chocolatey with surprises beneath the surface. Like the confection that inspired it, Bon Bon Chocolate Milk Stout is chocolatey and creamy with surprisingly complex layers. It features an elaborate malt bill, and despite this complexity, is light-bodied and easy drinking and reminiscent of a simpler time. I'll be the judge of that. I know, right? That's good copy.
I didn't like the approachable though. That's kind of weak.
I felt like you're gonna go all in on like we're different, we're unique, we do things other people aren't scared to do, but we're approachable. It just feels feels a little like it took a step back there. So I have to send a note to the founder.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody some corporate schmuck got in there and said, let's make this approachable.
Yeah. So, so he does wear flannel and have a beard. So Paul, so, I mean, can't be all bad, right?
It's Wisconsin, man. That's like that's what everyone wears in Wisconsin. All right. Yeah. Look at that. Let's see yours.
It's about the same.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers. Ooh.
Little sweet.
Little sweet, man. So my take is, as much as cinnamon toast and beer, I mean, that sounds like kind of a unique combination. Yeah. It doesn't taste as good as it sounds.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think the maple might put it over the top.
I think it's, yeah, you're right about the maple, because that's, you can taste that. It's pretty heavy in this one. It's way too sweet. Unlike the last one. This is way too sweet for me.
Maybe they just put an ounce of maple syrup in with every can.
Oh man. Okay, this is like sickeningly sweet.
Well, and plus it's 11%, so the alcohol is going to sweeten it up a little bit too. Yeah, that's one of those like sip all evening. You probably need a cigar with that.
Sip all day.
You need something. You need that cigar to like tone down the sweetness or something.
It's almost like, have you ever had? I like wine, but I hate port. Like some people like port. Ugh, port is just disgustingly sweet to me.
Yeah,
that's what this is like. This is like the port of beers. So I'm giving this I'm sorry, but it's an imperial stout. But I gotta give this like a 1.5 maybe.
Wow.
It's bad.
Wow. Yeah. I'm going to give this Bonbon. I don't really think it's anything like crazy special. But it's a good solid milk stout. Definitely got the chocolate and the milk. I mean, just all that stuff. So, I mean, it's definitely solid. Coming off the other one, it's not as good, but I'd give this a solid 4. Like it's a high, it's a quality milk stout. So I'll give it a 4.
Good.
For the old Three Sheeps Bonbon beer. I don't like the name that much, but
Three Sheep. I like the Three Sheeps.
Three Sheeps is cool. The Bonbon is like, I mean,
come up with something better.
I feel like I need to shave my beard to drink it, but
good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into let's talk about America, Animals, and Sex in the Super Bowl. Can't believe this is what you gave me to work with this week.
So we're basing this off of a recent article from, if you've ever read anything on 538.com, you can find a lot. I like to read a lot of their, I follow them on Twitter sometimes to check out some of their.
I have to say, I've never heard of this site before.
Really?
Yeah.
You've never checked out 538? Okay.
I have not.
So I follow them more during political silly season than anything, because they like to break down like, it's a lot of times they center on politics and things like that. But now that the political season is over, they're on to other things. So they start to analyze what people like, and, are
they like into controversy and.
Yep.
Okay. What does 538 stand for? Any idea?
It's Nate Silver. I'm not sure what the 538. He used to be on ESPN, and I don't know if I think it was like part of ESPN at one time, and then they kind of spun off their own separate entity. And but they're huge during like I said, during presidential politics. They're always doing like polling. They get a lot of polling information and bring that in to kind of tell who's up and who's down, and they hit everything from congressional districts to presidential politics. But like I said, they actually cover everything. They cover sports and a lot of things, but they're most known for politics more than anything. But it's kind of interesting because they have a breakdown on going by not just this upcoming Super Bowl, but Super Bowls in general, going back to the last several years. In fact, there's a website that you can go to called superbowl-ads.com, and you can check out some of the spots in all 21 Super Bowls this century. You can check out, I guess, some of the most popular ads that were featured. So what they do is they kind of break this down into, I guess, ads that really get our attention and were some of the most popular. And one of the things that they pull away from this is that we have a real interest in things that are silly and goofy and funny, and things that are centered around patriotism and animals, because we all love animals, right?
Yeah.
Dogs, our dogs, our cats, you name it. So
yeah, I think babies do well as well. I mean, I know that was in one of the kind of the pre-show things I was watching. I'd forgotten about the E-Trade baby, and like I was like he did the whole, like the first one that came out, for the Super Bowl, and he was like talk about how simple it was to trade, and then he burps at the end and like spits up on himself. I was like I saw it again the other night, and I just laughed. And my wife just looked at me like I was stupid, and I was like, it's still funny. It's still funny. It's like that middle school humor, like just burp and spit up. Like it's still funny.
Right. Exactly.
So, so we kind of talked about that. Like, and then there's just, I think another category in there is like weird. It also fits with animals. Like the, what was it? The puppy monkey. Like it was so stupid when you first saw it, but then they just went all in on it during the commercial, and they just kept saying, puppy baby monkey, puppy baby monkey, puppy baby monkey, puppy baby monkey. And like, you're like, okay, this is kind of cool now. Like that you said it 36 times. I'm going to go with it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, it's so weird. Like, do you remember what brand that was?
I do not. I do remember the commercial, but I don't even remember the brand.
See, that's the thing with a lot of these commercials. Like the E-Trade baby, I remembered. I did remember his E-Trade. I don't know if I hadn't seen the commercial, if I would remember that. Bud Light Night, that's a good one because you remember Bud Light. But yeah, I don't remember if Puppy Baby Monkey was Doritos or Taco Bell, or I can't remember what it was.
Yeah,
I don't remember which one it was. I think it might have been Doritos.
Yeah, Doritos always has some of the most, probably most entertaining, I would say, commercials. Would you say that? I mean, they always come away with some really interesting, fun stuff, and it's always usually something that's got a lot of action to it,
And I love that they last couple of years they've like let users submit their own commercials, or like fans or whatever, like produce and create, and they've had contests, and then they aired the winner. Like, I mean, that's pretty smart, actually. It's like, hey, let's let the people. It's like I was talking about last episode. We don't feel like making commercials, so we're going to do a contest where we'll air your commercial. Yeah, because we don't really want to go through the hassle of making a commercial. So you make it for us. If we like it, we'll do it.
Yep.
Oh, we have a comment from apparently the baby puppy monkey was Mountain Dew. My wife just texted. She just texted me and told me.
Gotcha.
So
Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew. It's probably one of those weird Mountain Dew flavors, like the Code Red or something. Yeah. Code Purple. So, yeah. So what was your takeaway from the article? Because, I mean, it's, we've talked about, the title is, according to Super Bowl ads, Americans love America, animals, and sex. I mean, they talk about other stuff in the article, though.
Yeah.
But that's that's a good clickbait headline.
So let's break these down so let's talk about America as in, America. So it's patriotism. So you can look at a lot of the ads that they talk about this, and you can go back to, if you go to that site, we'll actually post a link to that site, but you've got one that was featured, Bob Dylan, the ad where he's, you've got images of soldiers reuniting with their families. I think about some of the images of what Paul Harvey, I think that was probably 6 or 7 years ago, where you're talking about a farmer, which is one of the coolest, to me, it was one of the coolest ads, where he just shows, farmers out on, it's just a series. It was very simple done. It probably, I would say the ad budget for that ad was, and I think it was, there's another one that you can't remember I want to say it was a Ford commercial, because it was like Ford trucks, but I could be completely wrong there. But
I know Jeep had one that was very, a couple of years ago, either last year or the year before, maybe. Like, I don't even remember last year hardly, but yeah, I think Jeep had one that was very kind of Americana,
sure,
type thing. did really well.
Right. Yeah, I just think it. It makes me think of. I was doing a podcast interview with a Canadian today. He was an author. It was for another podcast, and he was just talking about like Canadians, and you don't see this from other countries, like other countries' perspective. But it was interesting to hear him say, like, we Canadians really admire. I mean, there's some things that annoy us about you Americans.
Yeah.
But he says one of the things we admire about you Americans is just your spirit of, and he listed entrepreneurship, your ability, or I guess kind of your lack of fear in terms of risk. The fact that Americans, for the most part, are entrepreneurial. They don't mind taking risks, and just their kind of that American spirit. He was just talking about that so it's kind of interesting because we kind of sometimes we sit, we being Americans, kind of we think about ourselves. We're kind of focused on ourselves so much, but it's always interesting to hear what someone outside of our country thinks. And that's one of the things that we're known for, is just that kind of that, I don't know, that entrepreneur spirit, the taking risk, just that drive, I guess, and determination, as he described it. So you see a lot of that played out in so many of the commercials, and maybe, I don't know if that has an effect on other countries. They see stuff like that, and that's kind of, they formulate their opinion of us on that, or is, who knows what comes first, like the chicken or the egg kind of thing. But
yeah,
I just thought that was interesting.
Well, I mean, I'm being back in Texas, like, Texas has that same kind of thing, right? Like Texas is more like, Texas is all about Texas, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Not many other places where every label, like, you can get chips here in Texas that are shaped like Texas. Like,
yeah,
like, your chips for dipping, like they actually make Texas shaped. Well, they make Texas shaped everything. Like, there is nothing that you could ever want in your house that doesn't come with either a Texas shaped label,
right,
or a Texas shaped like actual product. Dog bowls, chips, like, I mean, it's just, it's crazy. Like, and you don't see that with many other states. It's kind of a Texas thing.
But yeah, I brought my wife back, I think, like when I was out a few months ago, when I flew out to Dallas, not this time around, but a few months back, I stopped at Buc-ee's and picked up my wife a mug that says, "Come take it." That's kind of like one of the, one of the symbolic phrases, come and take this, with the cannon, Sean, you've seen it many times, probably being out there.
Yeah.
But that's symbolic of Texas.
I think America's kind of the same, version of that. Or to me, I think all of America used to be a lot more like that.
Right.
I think we've lost some of that over the past decade or two. But yeah, I could definitely see that as an outside perspective, and it still resonates, right? Because a big portion of the country is still kind of that, that flyover state territory.
Sure,
like, has that very Americana feel to it. It'll be interesting to see over the next few years if that changes. As we continue to be more and more 50-50, big cities versus kind of rural areas, because it does seem like there's some difference between those two as far as the Americana feel, anyway.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
But it what's interesting is like, I mean, Budweiser always does a good job with that. The NFL has some things. Pepsi has done some stuff in the past. Coca-Cola, of course. I know Jeep has done some. I'm just kind of flipping through some of these here. NFL, interesting. NFL's had quite a few spots where they try to tap into that,
So what do we say? So we just came this past week, we had Groundhog Day, right? And actually when I was out of town this week on Groundhog Day, guess what movie they featured? I think it was on, what is it on TNT, Groundhog Day? Which is a classic. I mean, it's just great. What did Jeep did that? Was it last year? Or was it the year before that they did the Groundhog Day commercial? Was that last year?
I don't know. I don't think that was last year. Might have been the year
It must have been the year before. Okay.
Yeah.
But Bill Murray driving the Jeep, and it was like it had the Groundhog Day theme. So, nostalgia, obviously that plays into it. But, that's just something. I mean, that's a classic right there.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. Like regardless of which theme you go with, there tends to be a lot of nostalgia. With any, like, even on our last episode, our guest was talking about, nostalgia and how powerful that is in a lot of things they're doing. I think she specifically mentioned like Shaggy with I think the Cheetos or Doritos. I guess it's Cheetos with Ashton Kutcher and Mila's going to have Shaggy in it, which is kind of a little bit nostalgic. Not super nostalgic, but for us old guys. But you often see like an old rock star come through, or you'll see a pop culture. We've talked about this before, like pop culture references. Like I'm looking at one right now where Kia used Morpheus from The Matrix, right?
Yep.
I don't know what this year this was from, but like picking the keys at the ballet from like
the
red key, blue key.
The red pill or blue pill. Yep.
Yeah. Which I think is, I think that's like, why would you not tap into, a franchise like The Matrix that has done, hundreds of $1 million. It's there's memes about it. There's like, it's just part of the culture. And I think that's a good thing is like, sometimes these, Puppy Baby Monkey, for example, is like kind of stupid and it's kind of funny, but it doesn't really tap into anything. So it's not, it's not super memorable other than it's just weird.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But sometimes when you can tap into this whole idea, this much bigger idea, it's going to stick with people a lot longer.
Sure.
Maybe not. It certainly has impact there because it feels familiar. Like your brain doesn't have to figure out what's going on first.
Right.
So you can kind of go either way, right? You can go with, and we've talked about this on other shows, like, do you go with what's familiar? So there's a little bit of comfort and safety there. Or do you just try to totally confuse the brain and to keep its attention and go with something really weird, like, Puppy Baby Monkey or, a magic beer fridge or like whatever. That's the game you're kind of playing is like, which way do you go?
Sure.
Do you tap into core values or do you just try to keep the brain guessing to keep their attention?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. But that if we really had to split up, kind of strategy, I guess that would be the strategy level.
There's like a fine balance because you want to tap into the interest and get their attention at the same time. One of the things that this article at 538 points out is like, one of the mistakes of a lot of product brands out there is they don't introduce their product right away. Right. And it says, can you tell what is being advertised within the first 10 seconds of a commercial?
I disagree with that though. Like, I was actually just reading through one of my older courses from AWAI that talked about kind of some of the higher level secrets of copywriting. And one of the things that makes really good copy is when the product disappears. Yeah. So I kind of get the whole, like, where you kind of lead people on and they stay interested, because the fact is, if you and I see a Budweiser commercial, we're like, oh, it's a good time to go to the bathroom. Yeah. Because we don't drink Budweiser. So we're not going to, right. So, whereas if it's kind of leading us on, we're like, well, I need to go.
What is this? I need to know exactly.
Yeah. I need to go to the bathroom, but I'm kind of curious about what's going on here, The downside of that is there can be a lot of letdown.
Sure.
It's a product that you're not crazy about.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I kind of disagree with them on that. Like, I don't think it's necessary. I think what's necessary is to get attention in the first 5 to 10 seconds, regardless of if you know the product or not.
Right. Because if you're not, if you're interesting, people will stay to the link to the very end to see your product. If you're not, people walk away, like you said, walk to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Go get some chips.
For the most part, people aren't changing the channel. It's one of the rare things about kind of the Super Bowl is most people aren't changing the channel.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, going back to another channel, except maybe the Puppy Bowl.
Yep.
Whereas where you might in other types of shows, you might flip channels during the commercials or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
I don't really do that much. Because it drives me crazy, but for the most part, I think people like to stay and see what's going to, because at least somebody in the room wants to see the commercials.
Yeah.
I think it's good to kind of keep them. But yeah, I'm looking at this like one Pepsi commercial where, it's got some flashbacks, and it's got a flashback to Britney. It's got a flashback to Back to the Future movie. It's got some Michael Jackson in it. Like, it just goes through all the pop culture stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think is really good. But yeah, patriotic. I mean, I would have definitely put pop culture as the top winners. I think that tends to do really well.
What I find interesting is that in order to garner attention, it doesn't take a big budget either, because I look at that, I just referenced that that ad with the farmer ad back from, I want to say this was back in the 2008 or 2009 Super Bowl, but it's Paul Harvey, and it's basically a voiceover with just screen grabs, running. So you're probably thinking cost almost nothing to make in terms of production value, what they put into it. In fact, it didn't even require any equipment or anything like that. You weren't even filming. You were just adding basically screenshots, with a voice, Paul Harvey's voice in the background. But it's just incredibly powerful, and was one of the most popular commercials I remember that year.
And I think BarkBox, aren't they doing that this year? I mean, that was the article that we talked about on last episode. Like, that's actually their whole angle is like super simple, like like not even a good voiceover, not even a real voiceover, like just like a really bad voiceover, zero budget, Shutterstock images.
Absolutely.
And they're kind of playing off Budweiser because they did a joint, like a JV with Budweiser for their squeaky toys for BarkBox. So that's one that I think that'll do pretty well. You're featuring animals, and it actually is exactly what we're talking about with this episode.
Sure.
It said, here's the write-up. It says, since Budweiser didn't make a Super Bowl ad this year, doggy subscription box service BarkBox made one for them. With dogs and squeaky beer toys. BarkBox calls their in-house creation from Brad, the copywriter, scrappy and zero budget, full of Shutterstock images, American flags, Barklight and Barkweiser beer plush toys. So yeah, it's like, they just went, it's like, okay, let's just be like super honest. Like, we're going to throw flags and dogs and beer in there and see what happens.
Sure.
Yeah. And why not? It's the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's a good lesson for any, small business out there. You don't need a high budget. You don't need an amazing budget to create something that's very powerful. Just get the right message.
Yep.
And like I said, focus on things that people really tune into, patriotism, animals, nostalgia.
I haven't talked about the third thing yet, so just go ahead and go there with the.
Should we go there? Yeah, we should go there. Okay.
All right. Since we teased it, so yeah, that was. So what are some of the famous, like? Obviously, there was the GoDaddy years, right? Where GoDaddy was kind of taking the whole sexual angle. Was it?
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was when they had like. Because that was like they were really teasing it, and then to find out more, you had to go to their.
They were like one of the first companies to go from like TV to your computer, right? I mean, this was like way before. I mean, now that's like the theme this year,
right?
But they were one of the first ones to drive you off TV onto your computer, and that was. I'm pretty sure that was like pre-social media. I'd have to look it up, but I bet it's like 2005, 4. Maybe even earlier, maybe even 2000s.
Yep.
With the .com era crash and all that stuff. I don't remember if it was before or after the crash, but
I think it was after.
But yeah, that was very like, to see what happens next, go to GoDaddy.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very provocative, and it would, obviously it would leave you hanging, which,
or
obviously,
not leave you hanging, depending on.
All right, here we go.
That was a good joke. Yeah. So what are some of the other ones that were? I mean, there's a few that were like.
Yeah, if you're looking, okay, so there's two categories when you talk about sex,
right?
All right, so let's just say it. So there's the indirect, which is sometimes can get really clever, and then there's the direct. I mean, like I would say the GoDaddy, very direct. But then you had like Pepsi with what was the Pepsi where he talks about the Bob Dole commercial with the Viagra. There's some indirectness there that you can use,
right?
For promotion.
Yeah, and all our listeners won't know this reference, and these weren't Super Bowl ads, but the Hardee's ads for a while.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Super those. Like uncomfortably, like wow. They got a lot of flack for that, but they knew their audience. I mean, their audience was, construction workers who go there for lunch.
Sure. Yeah.
They kind of knew they were going for that pinup, idea. But yeah, I mean, I guess Hardee's is just kind of the Southeast thing. So a lot of people wouldn't have seen those ads. But if you look up,
you're talking about the one where
she's like
a very attractive lady is eating a burger, right?
She's molesting a burger, let's be honest. Like, yeah. And yeah, it's just crazy. So if you look up, sexual Hardee's ad on YouTube, you'll probably find it.
That's really great, Sean.
Careful what else you might get in that search result. So
sure, exactly. Be careful there.
I could say be careful what else might pop up, but that would be inappropriate too. So
absolutely. We're not recommending any of that. We're just basically
you want to do your research, you want to really understand the market and what
that's right.
Worked or not worked in the past. There's a place for you to go. So so like you can take a couple different approaches, right? You can like trying to be funny, plus like their category here is like trying to be funny, plus sell with sex, plus animals, like just throw it all in the mix, right?
Sure.
Which seems to be kind of the like patriotic is its own, but then I think everything else is like just throw it all in there and let's see if we can make people laugh and
sure,
all this stuff. So, and some of these, it's funny. I have no recollection of some of them, like the what's this one? Kia Sorento and Space Babies. Like I do not remember that one.
Yeah. A lot of these are just. I'd have to go back and watch them to actually remember.
Yeah, so it's like it's got like everything. It's got like space and animals and babies, and it's just. It seems that's the key, like animals and babies. It's just the more we analyze this, the more we're like, there's no recipe. You just do whatever you want.
Well, and here's the thing, you talk about sex, going back to sex, that's a number of, that can take in many forms. You look at even exercise like we talk about Peloton. That's, that's just another form of it, from some of the commercials that they do.
Yeah.
It's more subtle. So I think the ones that are really effective are the ones that are not so much overtly, and maybe I'm completely wrong. I think some of them, I think the GoDaddy was very effective, but I think some of those that are more subtle.
I think with GoDaddy, even though, it offended a lot of people, the strategy was right. Like the overall strategy of let me take you from here
build
to my website.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think the strategy there was dead on. It's like, and nobody else was doing that then. Right. Nobody else was sending you to their site for you to get more information. It's just, I don't know how many people are going to register a domain after they're trying to find out whether this girl's gonna, what she's gonna look like on the website.
Right.
So you may, strategy is right, but what your end result probably wasn't great.
Yep.
Could be wrong, but I don't know. Yep. So yeah, I mean, like you see it all the time, and it'll be interesting. So as you're watching, I guess this year, or if you just watched, because by the time this airs, if you're not with us live, it'd be interesting to kind of go back and look at the top ads and what people are saying, and take a look at like what worked, why did it work? Because these days, as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, as a small business, like you could mimic a lot of this stuff and put it up on Facebook, put it up on YouTube as a paid ad. And you could hire pretty much any middle schooler or high schooler with an iPhone and, iMovie software or whatever to probably cut you a pretty good commercial.
Mm-hmm.
If you do, especially our listeners, I think could script their own thing pretty well. And then you just hire some kid to help you film it and edit it.
Absolutely.
And you could have a Super Bowl quality commercial pretty easy. I mean, that's basically what Dollar Shave Club did.
Yeah.
I mean, they had they had the right angle and all this kind of stuff. And I think
$5,000. That's what their initial, I think I read that very first commercial or video that they created was about $5,000, and it got them millions. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. Now they're $1 billion company, and they actually spawned a whole new industry, because now there's Harry's and other stuff that they just keep growing,
Yep.
So one thing, so what do you think are the worst ads you've seen? Like just totally struck the wrong chord. And I can't remember if this was I have one in my mind, but I can't remember if it was actually a Super Bowl ad or not, but it was the Gillette commercial.
Mm-hmm.
That was, it was kind of like anti-man, like don't be a man. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
We did an episode on it a while back.
Yep.
I was thinking that might have been a Super Bowl ad, but maybe it wasn't. But that was one that, to me, it was very interesting, because some people thought it was great. Some people thought,
sure.
Some people thought it was just putting men down a little bit, feminizing men,
mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. So can you think of any right off the bat that just like, you were like,
I think the ones that are the worst for me is they're forgettable. So I don't know. I'm trying to think. Some of them really, I just hate. I think I just forget them, just disregard them and never think of them. But
or they're so clever that you have no idea what the product is that goes with them.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like funny and they make you kind of laugh, and but you have no idea what the product is.
I think the best brands out there, like Budweiser, they've always stuck with like, I think one thing that keeps commercials memorable in people's mind are the fact that they keep with the same theme year in and year out. Like I think Budweiser has always done the Clydesdales, but they've always always done something different with the Clydesdales. So they had the, I think one of the ones that sticks out is the one where the horses, they're playing football, and so, but that's iconic, or that's always symbolic for Budweiser.
But at the same time, they usually do one of those, and they'll usually do like something new and catchy, right? So, Budweiser also does have the Budweiser frogs and the the What's Up ads, and so they always they always have this other ad that it looks like more like a viral attempt, and those were all made before viral was a thing,
right?
I mean, What's Up was viral before there was virality online. I mean, everybody was saying that. And the I Love You Man was another one, right?
Those are great.
Like all those are like not part of their brand, like you're talking about with the Clydesdales. They do both, right? They go for the pop culture, memorable, let's make this kind of trend kind of thing. And then they also have this tried and true, golden retrievers, Clydesdales, military, whatever. It's kind of the anchor. And then like, okay, it feels almost like we should have asked this of our guest last time. She might have better insight, but it's almost like, here's our budget. give us 50% with what we know works, and then 50% here, go crazy with a new idea, and you end up with frogs that say Budweiser. I want to be on that team, by the way. Like, I want to be the guy that has talking frogs.
Oh, absolutely.
That'd be a lot more fun. Probably more drinking involved. Well,
but again, I goes back to animal, right? Animal,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. And who doesn't love a talking frog? I mean, I remember when that first came out. It's like, what's going on here? And then you hear it, and then once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Like 30 years later, you still can't unhear it.
No, you can't.
Like, if you were around then, and that's I think who's doing that? I think it's Bud Light this year. They're bringing back like all their characters into one commercial.
Right.
So you're gonna have like a little, you have the Bud Light Night, which that plays into what you've been talking. They've really been running that hard for the last few years.
Sure.
And it's funny and all that stuff, but they're like bringing back Cedric the Entertainer and like all these older characters from Bud Light. So again, a nostalgia play.
Yep.
So I think that's a category that they didn't talk about in this article that kind of runs through a lot of these ads. Is even the patriotic ads. It's a form of nostalgia.
Oh, absolutely.
They're trying to tap into, for most people, like
what America maybe used to be,
right, exactly,
as opposed to what it is today.
Yeah.
Right?
Because the people that really resonate with that are probably more
rural,
feeling nostalgic than they are like that. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, I wish it was still like that. And they're trying to remind them of that.
Sure.
So it seems like, if I kind of analyze our analyzing, seems like we're saying nostalgia is big in all its different forms, and then good humor, whether it's sexual or not, like just good, just good humor. I think just works.
Right.
Probably not at the same time. Although I will say, the Will Ferrell ad is kind of Americana and humor together.
Okay.
Like really good.
Which one? I'm trying to remember.
The Finland and the.
Oh, yeah. Will Ferrell. Okay. Why was I thinking? I don't know why I was thinking Will Smith when you said Will Ferrell.
Totally different guys.
No, that is awesome. Will Ferrell with the Norway. That's
because it's a GM ad, right? So it's very like patriotic. We do this like
I hate Norway,
and it's very funny. Like at the same time, it's right, but it's very Americana. They're very patriotic.
Sure.
So I think that'll be one of the top winners. It'd be interesting to see where we shake out on this. We'll have to do a mini episode next week to
follow up
to see how right we were or wrong we were. So of the ones you know about, what do you think is going to be the winner? This will be interesting. We're going on the record here.
I gotta say, I think and I haven't seen all of them, but so far everything I've seen, of all of the preview ads that I've seen, I think the GM ad is kind of the coolest or the funniest.
Yeah, and I gotta say, like, even though it's super funny, like that's a good example of what I was talking about earlier. Like the product disappears in that ad, but it's there. Like it's in every cut.
Sure.
And it's actually a really cool looking vehicle, but it's not about the vehicle.
No,
I mean, it is, but it is. It's kind of there in the background, and you see enough shots of it that you're like, "Oh, that's pretty cool."
Right.
But you're following the narrative of the ad and the story that's going on. So it's like that's a good example of letting the product kind of disappear into the ad, and letting the ad do what it's going to do and entertain. Right. But it's still like you're going to remember that's a GM ad.
Sure.
For the most part, because he says it so many times. So even though they say it a lot, it still disappears.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good example of like, it doesn't have to be a car going down the road with leaves flying and, features and benefits of the car and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like just the fact that it's a cool looking car and it's just kind of there subconsciously is really powerful.
Yeah.
So I think that's another takeaway.
And it plays into, a topic that's being talked about a lot, which is moving to electric vehicles, the need to do that.
It's touchy too, right? Like we were talking about last episode, like half the market, they're like, man, give me oil and coal and like, like I'm not driving an electric vehicle.
Sure.
Right. And there's still that crowd. So like, how do you bridge that gap?
Yeah.
And kind of keep it cool and Americana.
Right.
But open people to the possibility that maybe electric vehicles aren't that bad.
Yeah. I think they do it with humor and what's better with a guy like obviously Will Ferrell, Yeah.
Plus who else is in it? The
some other people from Saturday. I don't know it seems like a couple of other people from SNL.
the one girl, she's been in some movies and some other stuff too. She's like that deadpan funny.
Right.
She does her stand up is great. I just love that deadpan style, but can't remember her name. But yeah, Will Ferrell's obviously the star. And then they've got two other kind of, B-list stars that are in there. But yeah, I think that I agree. I think that one's going to do really well. It'll be interesting to see how a lot of this, like crossing, trying to get people from the TV to your phone or to your laptop or to your iPad or your tablet or whatever, like how that plays out. I think it'll probably do pretty well. It's just, I'm probably too old for that stuff. Like I'm not going to, I don't know. I don't think I'll even have my phone with me, but I know most people sit there with their phone and their tablets and everything. But it probably won't be me. Like,
yeah. I was thinking on the last episode where we had, we were talking, just about that interactive, aspect of the Super Bowl advertising today where people are on their phones, and I'm thinking, we being old school and Laura, she was talking about how, maybe younger people are maybe engaged on their phones. And it kind of made me bring up, I don't know if you ever saw that movie, the Runaway Jury with,
wow.
It was like based off of a John Grisham novel, but in that book, or in that movie, man, what is that?
I'm really trying to figure out how you're going to tie this in. So I'm really interested in how you're going to tie that.
The actor, what is the actor?
Julie Roberts in that? Or is it? No, who?
No, I'm trying to. He's the older guy, the guy that played in Hoosiers. He was the coach in Hoosiers. Man, why am I forgetting his name? He hasn't acted in forever. Anyway, he plays a consultant. He's a jury consultant in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
So he's trying to tell people. Gene Hackman. There you go. Gene Hackman. So he's got a line that I just remember and it stands out, but he's like, your average American just wants to come home, plop down on the sofa and let the cable TV just wash over them. And, that's pretty true.
That's pretty accurate.
Like, so that's like most people in front of the Super Bowl is like, they're probably not going to be, from our standpoint or from our demographic, at least, they're probably not going to be engaged on their phone. They're probably going to be, I don't know, some maybe, but
yeah, it's definitely, I think it's definitely creeping up older and older where at least one person or two people, one or two people in the house are going to be, because I think it was interesting what Laura said when we were talking to her. When I said that was the second screen, she's like, no, that's the first screen. Like your phone is the first screen. The Super Bowl is now the second screen.
The second screen, yeah.
I was like, not for me, but okay. But that I can see that. Like I can see that, right? So you get your tablet,
right,
or your laptop. It's interesting to see, how many people that's the first screen, and then you kind of glance up at the TV and back down at your whatever device.
Right.
So she's probably right. She's some big brands, lots of research and studies and all that kind of stuff. Sure. So it'll be interesting to see how interactive this gets and how that changes the face going forward. But it definitely feels like a very pivotal year where it's going to be a multi-platform. Every commercial is going to be multi-platform.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that in TV shows where you can vote, and
sure,
all this, the lines are blurring more and more all the time. And, even I forgot to ask her about this, but even the 1 second commercials that are, I don't know if you've seen those, like they're actually commercials between commercials that they're like literally 1 seconds, and all it does is like a lot of the fitness companies have been using them, like Tonal. It'll just say tonal.com. It'll have their like their sound, but it's up there for 1 to 2 seconds, and that's it. It's just like the website and the logo. And it's tonal.com or mirror.com or anything. You're like, huh, my phone right here, so I might as well look it up. You couldn't have done that 10 years ago.
Well, like, it certainly creates curiosity because you're like, whoa.
10 years ago, you might not have had the phone with you on the couch.
Right.
Today, you have a tablet or a laptop or a phone right there. Full browser capability. Or even 10 years ago, like you didn't have those capabilities on a phone. It wasn't, well, I guess 10 years ago, what was it, 2007, 2008, when apps came out, kind of when in touchscreen, the iPhone came out, it became much more media centered.
Yep.
So yeah, it's definitely, times are changing, man.
Yeah, we'll have to maybe next week kind of do a follow-up, maybe a short snippet follow-up on some of those that kind of stood out this Sunday. But anyway, the biggest takeaway, we've gone all over the place. Biggest takeaway is that, if you're looking for engagement, whether it's if you're advertising on the Super Bowl, which most of our listeners are not, but if you're creating YouTube videos for marketing, some key takeaways, and we're going to post a link to this article from 538, but be thinking about those things that people tune into, Americana, patriotism, people that, look at obviously animal videos. If you can tie your message into animals, people love animals today more than their own children, it seems like. And nostalgia, and obviously, sex from a decent standpoint. Obviously we have we try to have a PG rated show on here, so we don't want to promote anything other than
let's be honest.
But those are key elements, and you don't have to have. What's cool about, I think, we were just talking about earlier with Laura, is it's amazing time to be a marketer today because you don't have to have a high budget to create a huge platform. You don't have to, it's like the David and Goliath. You don't have to have a huge budget to compete with Coca-Cola or any of these brands. You can do it pretty simply, and you can look at, take some of the lessons from some of these commercials that we just mentioned that aren't using high budget, producers, people to come in and create these to get your message out.
Yeah. So when you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening after the Super Bowl, like there'll be a top, there'll be all kinds of articles out about which ones won, which ones didn't, and all that stuff. Like take a moment and like really set aside some time with a legal pad and like see what worked, why it worked, what the experts are saying, what your personal gut is telling you, and then see how could I put together like a 30-second to 2-minute video that I could use on Facebook or YouTube for my own business.
Absolutely.
What of these principles could I take away? And then, script it out and then go find a middle schooler or a high schooler that can help you film and edit. And one thing I will say about that is make sure your audio is good.
Audio is important.
That's the hardest part of video is good audio.
Yep. It is.
People will put up with a shaky video or anything like that. They will not put up with bad audio.
Yep. I totally agree. Yep. From my audiophile podcaster, I will completely agree with that statement.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. As always, you can find us over at persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on all of your podcast platforms. And hope everyone enjoys the Super Bowl. Hope it's a good one. Should be entertaining. Commercials set aside. I don't even know what the halftime show is going to be, Sean, but
I think it's The Weeknd.
What's that?
Weeknd. Do you even know who that is?
No. That's how old we are.
Guy.
You just know that because you read it. You don't even know who that is.
Actually, I do. That's a pretty cool song because it sounds so. His top song right now sounds exactly like an 80s song.
Oh yeah. I know. Okay. Yep.
Ask your boys; they'll know.
They do. And I actually do know because I heard a preview on commercial during the playoffs. So I do.
It's a weird name for a solo.
It is
act though.
Yep.
Like it sounds like a band, not a solo guy. But anyway, seems to be working for him.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. As always, you can. Well, I've already mentioned that, so we'll just see you next time. Thanks, guys.